Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Welcome to the show. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. Our, we're just going to get on here tonight and kind of let the chat lead the conversation tonight. So just leave your topics or questions or whatever you got in the comments over there, and me and Dan will start to kind of chat about them. So if you guys want to start doing that, then me and Dan will just chit chat for a while those build up in the comments. But what's been going on, Dan?
not a lot.
You are in the final stretch now of your season.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting rough now. At least we got some snow on the ground now, so I'm hoping that after it sits for the night, that maybe
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow I can pick up some tracks.
Yeah, that's yeah. That hopefully that happened at a good time, and you'll be able to score the next week.
Yeah, there's no problem getting on the little stuff, but the big ones are pretty elusive right now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I haven't. I've been out kind of walking around the last week or so, and I haven't picked up any sheds or anything. Are you guys finding? Have you heard of people with picking up a lot of sheds around you?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys picking them up. Mhm.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't even know if my target buck still has his antlers,
Right.
but
Right.
I'm assuming he does, but I don't know for sure.
Yep. When's the last time you got a picture of him?
A couple weeks ago, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess a lot can change in a couple weeks or an
Actually, more than
hour.
a couple of weeks ago. It was in late December. I just didn't check the camera until now.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. He made it through the hard times though of the deer season.
yeah.
Um,
Well, the thing is too, he could be on the public land in a very vast area, or he could be on private. It's kind of like
sure.
split in the middle there. I believe, based on the terrain and such, I believe he's on the public. But
Is it just not very good area in the
well,
on
it's
the
not very many trees or anything like that. It's kind of a not a very not too many people hunt there, which is why he's probably there. But it's
right?
kind of a vast area with a few trees and but I think with snow, if he's in there, I can cut his tracks, figure out how he's coming in and out of there, and get a hunt on him,
Mm-hmm.
a good quality hunt instead of this random hopping around stuff hoping,
Yeah.
you know. But
Yeah. Gosh, it'd be so awesome if you get on him this end of the season and kill him.
you get to this point in the season, and you're not seeing him, and you know he's around or something. You get to
Right.
kind of that back against the wall thing where you got a week left, and you're like, you feel like it's impossible. You look at your odds, like he's in this whole area. What are my odds? But what makes me get up and go out there and go after it every day is the fact that I've done that before. I put my back against the wall and killed those bucks,
Yeah.
and that success teaches you that it's not as hard as you get stuck in your head. If you really sit back and think about it, there's only so many places or so many ways you can be coming out of there.
Right.
And if he's really, the area might seem vast, but there's probably only about 10 different spots he could be coming out of there. And if you hit it right, you get your crack. And the snow really helps because now that I got snow, if I can cut one giant set of tracks,
It's probably
the other
him.
there was two other bucks in that same area I was hunting, and they both got shot. Gun
Mm.
season. So now it's just a pile of does, and most of them are pretty young. I don't think there's gonna be any mistake in his track. So
Have you thought about like taking a vacation off work and trying to find him?
no, I'll just I'll hit it hard tomorrow on the tracks, and I think
Yeah.
I've got some things going through my head. I mean, anybody who's fairly successful is always sitting in the back whenever something's going on, like when you're at dinner with the wife or whatever, you're just staring at her, smiling, thinking about how you're going to do your hunt that evening, right?
Not
But
me.
I'm always plotting and planning. I know you can't say that because your wife's listening, but that's true. I mean, it's just it's
Yeah, it
a
is what it's just us. It's
guy
just how it
thing.
is.
If
Yeah.
you're successful, you're always planning and plotting. And I've been thinking about trying a morning hunt on this one spot where I think he could be living, and I think that could pay off. Um, but I just keep thinking about the hell I'm going to have to go through to get there in the morning. I don't know the area as well as some of the other areas, and it's like a mile and a half of just complete, utter nastiness if you have to fight your way through. So doing that in the dark is going to be pretty hard, and early enough in the dark to beat them there because there's no real path or anything. But I might try that. I haven't had enough pain in my life yet, so
You'd break the internet if you shot a buck late season in the morning.
yeah, I would. Yeah.
It was that if it was that big, a big one. Uh, I don't
The
know.
trouble is too, we're going to drop in temperature here now, coming up quick, and then getting back there, I'm gonna get all sweated up and freeze my butt off. It's gonna be.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I got some stuff I got going through my heads. I got some. There's one spot, where I'm thinking he has to be feeding, but is he getting there in daylight, and is he bedding close enough? So there's a couple of spots I want to try. We'll see what happens. The buzzer is going to go off pretty soon, though. This is the
yeah,
last weekend.
yeah. You guys, when's the 31st or whenever it goes out? The
Yeah, I think
what
it
is it?
goes out on the 31st. I have to look to make sure.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah. 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 I guess you wouldn't. You pretty much have the rest. You're off tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Then it's the start of the 2023 season. After that, starts all over again. The workshops are coming off, and I'm gonna announce a winner tonight at the end of the show. Um,
Nice.
from the comments section. Uh, I'll just reply to the comment that won, and if you guys, whoever wins, gets back with me, and if not, I'll pick another one like the next day because it's coming up pretty soon. I want to give everybody time to make sure they can get to the
It's about
workshop.
a week away, right? Or 2 weeks away, week and a half.
Yeah, something like that, week and a half. Yeah. So there was quite a few people that commented, so it was it was uh it was good. Did you say you probably have to go to the fourth, the what is it, the fifth or fourth or fifth?
Yeah, the fifth would be better than the last one because the last one's pretty crowded.
Okay,
The fifth's got plenty of room.
yeah, okay. So we'll do that at the end of the show. You want to talk about our news story? It's a pretty interesting one. We probably talk about for a while.
Sure.
I had it. Dan had it sent to him a couple times, and I had it sent to me a couple times, and um, it's just conveniently taking place up in the UP, which was where you guys were just at.
Well,
And essentially, what happened was uh, a young man, I think he was in his early 20s, got caught cutting someone's straps on their tree stand on public land, and the guy ended up falling like 15 feet. Um, and if I remember right, Dan, you can correct me if I don't recall the story properly, but the guy fell the first time, um, and then they kind of started investigating it, right, and they reset up the stand, and they caught the
hmm
guy doing it again.
well, you got to
And
start
they
the story from the beginning. What
okay.
happened was um,
Oh yeah,
the,
I'm missing
the
one.
guy
Go
went
ahead, you
in and
tell it.
set up a stand and a camera to hunt out of
Yeah.
in Michigan, UP. A lot of those guys from that region pick a spot. They put up a stand and a
Mm-hmm.
camera, and it's where they hunt. I think a lot of people do that. But so he comes back to check his camera, and the card's been cleared. And there's a note on his camera that says, "This is my spot. Stay out," or something like that. Um, and it's got a guy's phone number on it. So he calls the guy, and the guy's like, "Hey, I've been hunting her for years. Blah blah blah." And he's like, "Well, I just came in here set up. I didn't know anybody was in here." And he's telling the guy it's public land. I can hunt where I want, kind of thing. And the guy's getting more and more worked up to the point where the guy just says, "Okay, I'll stay out." And he didn't really plan on staying out. He just wanted to get him off the phone or whatever, get away from him. So he stays out of there for a couple of weeks or whatever. Then he finally goes back. He climbs up and gets in the tree stand, and boom, tree stand blows off the tree and he falls. And the strap had been cut completely through except for a strand. And he goes home, calls 911. Turns out I guess he was okay. He did have to go to the hospital because he had
Yeah.
some medical expenses, but he came out of it okay. But falling out of a tree stand is a pretty serious thing.
Yeah.
And his card had been cleared again when he went out there, and the DNR warden started an investigation. And while he was doing the investigation, this guy went out and fixed his tree stand, I guess. And when he did so, he got a text from this guy, because the guy still had his phone number, saying something to the degree of, "Oh, you're still going out there? I think we better work this out, right? Because I've been hunting this area for years or whatever. You're just going to come in here and try and take it over on me," kind of thing. So he knew he was being watched on the camera. So then they knew there was a camera watching him. So the warden doing the investigation came out and checked the camera, and the guy had pictures of himself cutting the straps and stuff.
Yeah.
So he left that on his camera that he had there to film this guy getting into his tree stand. So yeah, there's more pictures. Yeah.
Here's the picture of him cutting you can see his pocket knife or whatever he has out there cutting it there.
Yeah.
It looks like the guy is going to spend some time in jail for it. You can
see what did he get? 60 days or something?
Yeah.
60 days. He's got to pay the guy's medical fees, and he got kicked out of college.
Well, I think he was already kicked out, they said. I think that's how it read.
It said he was not kicked out. He was
expelled or something.
Like suspended, yeah.
Suspended, yeah.
And then this item, they just said, "No, you ain't coming back," because he keeps getting in trouble with stuff. So he's obviously not a great character. Only 23 years old. He's got a life of crime ahead of him, I guess. Hopefully 60 days in the slammer does him some good, because he could have killed somebody.
Oh, yeah. Pretty easily.
And he's not a very smart criminal.
Right.
Because he left enough evidence that anybody
really good evidence. A picture of him literally doing the crime.
So I hunted bear in Clark County. I believe Tyler Witt, Big Hunt, was with me.
Mm-hmm.
We were hunting bears up there, and there was a tree stand up there. And I climbed up in the tree stand to take a look over a clear cut, a ladder stand. And that ladder stand was there the whole season, and nobody hunted out of it. You could see it had been there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got up to the top of that ladder stand, and it just blew out of the tree and went flying to the ground. And I tried grabbing the tree, bear hugging it. My arms got all splintered up. I scraped myself up really bad, and ended up with a bad limp for quite a while. I mean, I was pretty screwed up. And when we looked at it, somebody had cut that strap almost completely through on purpose to make it fall when somebody stood in it. Yeah. And I wasn't the guy that they were after. They were after whoever put the stand up, I'm assuming. But I just happened to climb up this random tree stand and had it happen to me. So I don't think this is a completely uncommon problem. I think that there are some malicious people out there, and people need to be a little wary, to be a little careful.
Yep. No, I've heard stories like this in the past. Just this one was actually, I think it happened a few years back, didn't it? A couple years back.
To me, or the one you're talking about?
No, the one that this article. I thought the guy just got maybe sentenced recently. Yeah,
the article's new.
Yeah, it looks like it was in 2021. So when he must have just got his sentence or something.
Yeah, maybe they waited to the final.
Yeah. But anyway, so be careful if you got preset locations out on public or private. I was telling Dan before I got on here, I went and checked a trail camera on one of my pieces of private that butts up to some public, and someone had I have one stand on the place. And I honestly haven't sat in it for quite a few years now, but someone had pulled out it was just a steel climbing sticks on the side of the tree. The one's 20 foot, they're one continuous stick, and someone had pulled those out. And the top portion was up there by the stand. So I got to fix that sometime this summer, but
yeah. I mean, that story really angers me that people would do that to somebody else.
Oh,
I mean, it's totally uncalled for. You could kill somebody, you could hurt them pretty bad.
Yep. I mean, in my opinion, it's
dealing with a kid. You know what I mean? You don't even know who you're dealing with.
No, for sure. Just like your example, what if some like 15-year-old boy was just out there and decided he wanted to climb up in that tree stand and climbed up there and fell. You
It is
know.
probably more likely than some old guy that thinks he's 15.
Yeah.
Self, you know.
Yeah. Um,
Kids jump up everything they see, you know.
yeah, that's what I meant. They just climb up there just to climb up something.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what goes through people's head. I mean,
I think 60 days in jail was appropriate. You
I
usually don't
think,
see jail
yeah.
sentences out of that. I think that's appropriate. I think a person really needs to learn a lesson out of that.
Oh yeah, I think it could have been longer. I mean,
You
yeah.
know, look at those recent poaching violations we talked about with like the Bomars and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, they got hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, and I'm not downplaying anything they did, but what this
Right.
kid did way worse.
Oh
He got a
yeah.
little slap on the wrist and 60 days in jail.
Yeah.
I think what he did was way worse.
And I'm not, like you said, I'm not like defending Josh and Sarah Bomar, but it's like you wonder if they just come down on them because they know that they got the money to pay the $100,000 fine. You know?
Highest fines they ever had in Nebraska. It's hard to believe there's nobody ever poached a deer there before.
Yeah. And they didn't get they like it sounds like all their charges got dropped except for one, and it was a non-hunting related charge. It was something like I can't
Probably the one
remember.
with game across the state lines. That's a big one.
Yeah, I don't. It was like I can't remember what it's actually called. Maybe someone in the comments can
I know
find
what
it
you're
or
talking about. There's the one with taking game across a state line. It's a felony.
yeah. See, I don't think that was what it was though. I think that got dropped too. I think it was like some kind of law where it's like you should have known better than to deal with these people or so. I don't. I can't remember what it's called. Someone will say. No, I'm serious. Like everything got dropped except for that one. Um,
Mhm.
but Josh put something on the internet the other day about it, and he said that they can still hunt. Sounds like they can hunt everywhere but Nebraska.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, this kid lost his hunting rights, and
yeah,
they haven't even determined when he's going to get them back yet.
no, it was indefinitely. It said in the article.
Is indefinitely
Um,
permanent, or is it to a certain time period?
I think it's just until they decide differently, or if they are gonna.
It's probably
They,
dependent on his parole because he's put on parole for a year.
yeah,
Probably dependent on how he behaves, maybe.
yeah, and we could be wrong too. Maybe it's indefinite. Maybe
That's
it's
this
not
is
getting.
countrywide because he's Michigan's got that
Yeah,
reciprocity law.
yeah, where he can't hunt in any states. Um, but I don't know. It's a messy world out there, and I mean, I hate I hate that people like Josh and Sarah Bomar, like they get in trouble. Like I wish people like that just puts such a bad name in like the hunting world. Like it's just like God, man, you got to be careful whenever you're that popular in that. I mean, they got like 300,000 subscribers. You know.
That's why
Um,
that's why there's so much hate towards people that run shows and stuff. They think everybody's a bunch of criminals and stuff just to get on a show, or and that's not necessarily the case. I'm sure
no.
there's a lot of that going on where there's a lot of people that would do anything to be well known or to be successful. Um,
Yeah.
but there's good guys out there like me and you that if we get a deer, we get a deer. If we don't, we don't. We're just out having fun.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people like that.
Oh
Believe it or not.
yeah. Yeah. For
You can
sure.
kind of,
I
you can
mean,
kind of. I mean, if anybody's weary, I mean, if you're a good detective or whatever, you can see it. When people are just out there trying to promote stuff or make money
right.
or be famous. They're just
Yeah.
trying to do things to get attention. You can see
Yeah.
it. You can read that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm not again not defending Josh Bomar, but he kind of seems like he's kind of spacey sometimes. Like there could be some stuff going on around him and he not notice it. Did you see that he burnt his truck down this summer? Did you see that
I
on
I
YouTube?
heard about it, but I never watched. I've never even seen one of his shows, honestly.
Yeah, it just well, I just this it was just real popular. It was going around on social media. He was
I heard
burning a
about it.
food
Everybody
plot.
was talking about it.
Yeah, it's like God, man.
Did he do it on
Um,
purpose or
oh, I would hope not. It's like a brand new F-250 or whatever it was,
people were
like
saying he
probably
thought he did
80.
it for insurance fraud or something like that? But I'm
Oh,
sure
no
that's just
way.
rumors, right?
I wouldn't think so.
What
But
happened? He just
it just I think he was burning a food plot and it caught like somehow it got into his truck and got out of hand on it and burned it up.
Mm.
Burnt it. I
Well,
think it burned
I
all the way to the
almost did
ground.
that this year. Remember when I had the ATV
Oh
truck?
yeah,
When I turned my ATV up?
you trying to get the insurance off that 4-wheeler?
Yeah. I'm sure there's people that think that. That's the most embarrassing thing, having the whole town, all the fire departments all around come over and like, Infalt, what did you do? They're all in my yard. All my neighbors
Well,
are out staring. I'm like, oh.
what kind of 4-wheeler is it? Is it like is it a cheapo or something, or is it a nice
No,
one?
it's a nice one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my brother was having some money problems. I didn't really need one, but
Yeah.
he needed some money quick, so I gave him $5,000 for it.
Oh, yeah. It has to be a
Now I
pretty
got
good
an
one then.
ATV.
Yeah. There you go. If you go down to Mississippi and hunt with the guys from Light 'em Up, you can take that down there and 4-wheeler ride after you shoot your buck.
So
Just
it
4-wheeler
sounds
ride
like that's
around.
the thing to do down there. Yeah,
I know.
that you use
uh,
like I get a 50 cal sniper rifle to deer hunt with.
yeah. That video turned out pretty good, I thought. I
Uh,
think people liked it for the most part.
well, I think it's a cool video because you see Rick is a real hunter. Just out there just trying to get a deer.
Yeah.
Loves venison, wants to get a doe, a buck, anything. Big buck or a doe is what he always says. And just to see him go out there, try hard, drive all the way down there by himself, and make good friends and stuff. I mean, the whole theme of the whole thing is it's just great. It's just
Yeah.
it brings you back to a little bit of a simpler time.
Yep. Yep. We should take a bet on how many more years Rick can hold onto that van, though.
Geez, I would think it'd be gone by now. I kept telling him, "What are you doing with that thing?" Just shows up everywhere. In that thing.
I know. It must run pretty good if it made it down to Mississippi and back again, because that's pretty far for you guys, isn't it?
Every time I tell him to get a truck, he always says, "That was left to me by my father. That's
Yeah.
got special meaning." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man, sorry." But we're on a dang bear hunt, and if I got to say one thing bad about Rick, we're on that bear hunt,
Only one thing.
and he's like, "We got one good bear coming in." And he's like, "Well, that's my spot." I'm like, "Who said that?" "Well, that's the only one I can get to with my van." I'm like, "There's good spots over here." "Yeah, I can't get my van back here." So okay, that's your spot. So then when we do get onto a big bear, I'm like, go over there. When it's like his turn, and he's like,
Yeah.
"I can't get my van back there. Could you drive me?" It's like, get a vehicle you can hunt with. You got to drive through woods and over trees and stuff. This is how it is.
Yeah, especially up there. It sounds like it's pretty rugged.
Yeah, it wasn't that
Uh,
bad. It was just you probably should have 4-wheel drive, but I mean, even without 4-wheel drive, you should have been able to drive the van through this. She's got low clearance, and you get a little sand, you sink a little.
yeah. Well, it's like up in Michigan where we were hunting at this year, in early season there. It was pretty, like you'd probably want, it got pretty muddy, and there were some spots that were, if you'd had a van there, it'd have been kind of a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Rick never made it, but I mean, there were some potholes and stuff that were deep.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
there was that spot that I went to first with Eric before you got to it,
Yeah.
where you shot the doe.
Yeah.
Where I didn't know what I was going to do. That water looked deep, and I just put it to the floor and went through it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know about this, but it went through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could have been bad.
I get how a van would be convenient. Like, it'd keep all your crap dry and there's room in it and stuff. But as also, it's like, man, when you need 4-wheel drive, it's nice to have. That's for dang sure.
It would be
So
different. Like, he slept in the van or something, but he don't. He needs a 5-star motel.
I don't know if Rick's on.
You ever seen him in the tent, man? He's got this giant cot. He folds out. He's got everything. He's got a whole plan. He goes in there. I just go in there, throw a bag on the floor, and curl up in a ball. And it's like he's got this whole setup. He's all prepared.
They didn't. I could be wrong on this or misheard, but whenever last time you guys went bear hunting up in Minnesota, didn't they end up leaving and you ended up sleeping on the outside or something?
Yeah,
you didn't have a tent or something.
Yeah, he left with the tent. It was pretty cold out too.
I bet.
So I ended up sleeping in like the cook tent, which really is just screen.
Yeah,
it's not a tent, and I really didn't have anything. I froze my balls off. It was cold. I'm used.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
We ran into a guy up there. I was hunting a real interesting cat one time. You run into some people when you're way up in the Northwoods sometimes.
Yeah.
This dude just came rolling in, parked, took a couple branches, and made a lean-to. Just put it like I mean, it was really cold out. He made a lean-to of a tarp, so it was only covered on one side, and just made a little fire. And he slept under this tarp. And he's a real old guy with a big beard and stuff. And he said that he was up there bear hunting. He said something to the degree that he usually hunts by his house, but he was mad at his wife and wanted to get away from her. And just went wandering through the woods, and one day he disappeared. But he was sleeping under that tarp for days in the cold. You go by him, and the whole ground would be covered with frost, and he'd have frost on him. You'd see it on his jacket when we'd leave camp. You could see him laying in there. It was a tough old coot.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I
Just
don't know.
snuck
I got
over
that.
while I was sleeping and filmed that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. That wall tent I have now, that's pretty nice anymore,
It
especially in
was.
the wintertime.
I don't
Hey,
know. It was a horse apiece if you want to sleep outside and freeze your balls off, or just being in there half the time freeze your balls off, and half the time being so hot you're like, oh my god.
I know. You have to get
Some
sick from
sort
the
of way of
temperature
get away
changes.
from that thing.
Yeah, I wish there was a little bit but better way of controlling. There probably is. I probably just got to get used to it or figure out the better way of controlling that wood stove. But I think it'd be cool to do like a real winter hunt with it because it would keep you warm enough. I mean, it wouldn't have any problem at all sleeping in
Yeah.
it outside. I know Clay Hayes does one with a group of guys in Idaho during like December, and it's
Mhm.
always freezing up there in the mountains. And they all have they have one of those wall tents, and it looks like it's pretty cool. Like they all usually a bunch of snow on the ground, and they sleep in that wall tent. But
Might just
I
have to get
heard,
a size stove or something that can handle.
yeah, right. Well, a couple people suggested to get a negative 20-degree sleeping bag, so where like you get it warm in there, and then when you go to sleep, it stays you stay warm enough that where you won't get cold and wake up
Yeah.
essentially. Um, except for in the morning when you got to get out of your sleeping bag and it's going to be cold, but whatever, you know. Got to have someone there to start the fire for you. But I don't know. I'll get it figured out better next year. All right. There's a few questions. There's probably more. I haven't scrolled down to the bottom of the list yet, but you ready to get into these topics here?
Sure.
Someone asked about how many deer have you killed out of a climber, Dan? Did you used
Uh,
to, before you answer that, was a climber your main like form of hunting back whenever they were, in the 90s or whenever?
no, I had a climber. I had a lone wolf climber back when I helped with making them.
Yeah.
Um, I had the original prototype one. But I've killed a few. I don't know how many. I can only think of one off the top of my head. A nice 10-pointer I got.
Yeah.
But I'm sure,
I think,
there's a few. Oh, yeah, I killed one in hill country too. So I killed at least two bucks out of them. Hill country, I used to climber a lot back in the day because there's a lot more straight limbless trees, um, immature forest. But really early on, I started realizing that I was way better off if I was going in, even if I thought I was going to a climber tree, to take a stand in sticks, because quite often I'd get in there and the wind would be, well, I don't quite want to be in this tree, or I wouldn't even make it to that spot because I'd run into something hot and be like, I'd rather hunt here. I can always go to that spot tomorrow. And then if
yeah.
you ain't got the right stand, you're just walking past, leaving your scent there.
Right.
So I would say probably two or three that I shot out of a climber.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
more.
didn't
I'm
know.
not thinking of.
I didn't know how often you used them back in the day. I know I've seen some videos of you with one, but I didn't know if that was like your main stand for a while or not.
Mm.
But
I used it. I used it a bit for a while, but it got old quick.
hmm yeah, I've killed quite a few deer out of a climber. I had an old Summit climber, Summit Viper, but
Mhm.
um, I just I didn't even know any like honestly, I didn't even know any better. There was something better out there. I mean, when I was young, I didn't really do research. I mean, I wasn't on the internet. We didn't have internet or anything like that, to know that I could buy these stands and sticks or,
Right.
that's what I used every year and didn't even think anything of it, didn't even look to. I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, sometimes I wish you just didn't know about things anymore. It's like everything you have is probably good enough for the rest of your life and you just need to be satisfied with it and move on. I'm always a real curious person about stuff that comes out and new this or that. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. He's like, I don't need any of that crap.
Right.
Um, it's like little incremental changes on things that I don't know. I always think
I'll tell
think
you
about
this.
simpler times.
To go back onto the climber thing is, there came to a point where I realized that I would much rather have a stand and sticks than climbers, and I sold my climbers.
Yeah,
I gave one of them away and I sold the other one. I gave one to some kid that wanted it.
yeah.
But I just decided I wasn't going to haul those around no more. They were lighter than my stand and sticks at the time, at that time
Hmm.
frame. But it just wasn't versatile enough.
Yeah,
I would actually go to a climber tree and not make it there, and be thinking, "Oh, I should have took a stand and sticks." And I would take the climber and climb a tree, and I'd get to a limb, and I'd take the hand climber part off, and I'd put it over the top of the limb, and I'd hang off of the hand climber part and undo the lower part, and pick it up and put it over the limb. And really, you're practically risking your life over hunting the right
yeah.
tree, and all you have to do is take the right stand.
Right. Yep. It's hard to beat a stand and sticks, especially the technology that's out now and how good they are. I
Once you
mean,
get used to using them, they're so easy too. It's just
yeah. You can be, in my opinion, you can be quieter with them too. You can be um, more controlling of everything. It seems like, you know what I mean?
depending on the setup. I'm in a tree set up ready to hunt in 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Being quiet.
Yeah. That's what I meant. A climber, I mean, after like you set that thing and you really, I mean, those things settle and everything else, that makes a lot of noise when it does that. Um, if you, some of them are better than others, but it's still going to happen.
Yeah, you got to be real
Where,
careful not to get drag on it, so that you're not dragging bark, all kinds of stuff.
yep. Yeah. They're pretty cumbersome too, especially the one I had. Um, it had that.
The thing is too with the stand and sticks, you can get right into the exact perfect pocket you want to be. With a
Yeah.
climber, you have to be on a straight section of the tree. So in a lot of cases, you're just sticking out too much.
Yeah.
You're too wide open. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And a mature buck will spot that all the time. You might get away with that with does, fawns, and year and a halves, 2.5s. When they get to be 5 or 6 years old, especially on public, if you're sticking out at all, they're spotting you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I could use one a little bit here, probably still, but I mean, within the hills, whenever we have those like real straight sassafras trees that you could get up there real high, that's the only thing that'd be convenient for me to have one. Is in those when you're like, the scenario, Dan. Like whenever you have to sit down the ridge a little bit and you freaking can't get high enough to get unless you're eye level with all the deer. That'd be
Mhm.
nice to have a climber where you could just freaking climb way up there.
The one
Um,
scenario I like for a climber is with that hand climber when I would gun hunt. And
mm,
there were certain trees I could get up like 60 feet and
yeah,
see down into the cattails for quite a ways. I mean, you could punch a deer at 200 yards in the cattails from that high. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
back
They'd
in
be
those
good.
days, it was a shotgun, so I didn't have that range, but I could really see the deer. Where I would have to take 10 or 15 sticks with me to get that high.
Oh
You know,
yeah, and
sticks.
you know what though? Something to think about. Like I don't know if you could do that anymore. All them ash trees, you're probably climbing a bunch of ash back
Yeah,
then.
yeah, they're all dead.
Yeah, I bet you couldn't even find a tree hardly to
Yeah,
climb
pretty soon,
anymore.
pretty soon, a lot of the spots I'm killing deer on, I'm not going to be able to because that's all I'm hunting is dead ash now.
Yeah,
A lot of these places I go, and sooner or later they're going to all be falling over.
that's crazy to think. Um, and I have not hunted swamps because we didn't have many around here at all. Until I started hunting up in Wisconsin, and by then the ash spore had already went through and they were all dead. And
Hmm.
I'd sit there in a swamp and look out and just think about how much different this place had to have looked, even just a few years ago. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's sad for
crazy.
me because I lived in the days when those ash points were just
Yeah,
awesome. Early season when they had leaf cover and they were just
yeah,
full of deer, and now they're like just dead sticks sticking out of the cattails, and it's like it
yeah.
just
And it
it's
almost
sad.
is an eyesore. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Um, Philip the Wise. How much money from license sales actually goes back to conservation? Can you order the DNR I bet he audit the DNR.
Hmm.
I don't know the exact number.
And it probably depends on what state you're talking about too.
Yeah.
I know in Wisconsin, the money goes to the governor, but I think some of it goes back into hunting, obviously.
Hmm,
But
hmm.
the governor gets a lot of that.
I think the vast majority of funding for conservation comes from the Pittman Robertson Act, if I remember right. I think it's like an 11% federal excise tax on all sporting goods. So if you buy anything from ski poles to ammunition to archery equipment, that all has a excise tax of 11% that goes to conservation. Uh, I think that's a big, huge portion of the where the money comes from. So every time you go buy a pack of broadheads or pair of boots or whatever, anything that's related to sporting goods, they have a tax on that goes back to
Yeah,
conservation.
I would really like to find a way to make the DNR accountable. Um,
Yeah.
Not necessarily for the money or whatever, but I really believe that they work for me. I'm their boss, as are you and everybody else that hunts here, you know, or where you
Hmm.
hunt. And I think that before they sell a property or before they, with our money, before they come in and they cut down a forest and make a bunch of ponds or turn it into a dog park, they ought to find out if there's enough dog park people that want that versus hunters. Um, I really think they should be more accountable. I really see a lot of things going on, especially right around me in my county, that I don't like. And there's like one guy deciding it. And when you ask him questions about why are you doing this, how are you using our money for this, he shuts down, won't answer your questions. If he works for me, he
Hmm.
has to answer my questions. You know what I'm saying? And it
Yeah.
really ticks me off. So in that manner, not to say that that's exactly what the guy was asking about, but I do think that they need to be more accountable and more open to the public. The public should be able to see clearly what they're doing with this money and know beforehand before they do something. Not go out to go hunting one day and find out their property's been sold or it's been turned into a dog park or it's been turned into a bunch of duck nesting ponds or I would think that a discussion could happen before then and some questions could be asked and answered about why they're making decisions that they're making, and then um, it could maybe even be voted on.
Yeah, I think at the very least they should be able to give you an explanation for all their actions. Like they should
Right.
have that ready to go.
I think anytime somebody doesn't want to give you an explanation, like when they shut me down, when I ask them tough questions, it's because he knew that he didn't have good answers.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, probably so. All right, let's see here. Let's do this one. Daniel Underwood. This is kind of a good question. Would you rather kill a 150 to 163-year old or a 130 to 145-year old?
it's a good
Hmm.
question. I
It
probably
is.
want to see the Bucks for. I
Yeah.
want to see what they look like.
Yeah.
I would probably prefer the older Buck, um, but not necessarily. Um, but I've seen some pretty cool looking 130s that just have just a massive rack with short stubby tines or whatever that
Yeah.
uh, I might even want to shoot more than a booner, But to me, when I was younger, score was a big deal. Now just the off factor is more of it. But a lot of
Yeah.
times the rack is the off factor. I mean, a
Yeah.
giant 190-inch buck, you can't hardly beat that. I don't, at that point, I don't
Yeah.
know for sure if it's 3 year old or 10 years old.
Yeah.
But, I lean a little more towards age because I think beating the animal that's that age, you know,
Right.
um, 5 or older is an accomplishment.
Hmm.
But in the same sentence, I can say that a 5-year-old walks by me with no antlers, I'm not shooting it if he's shed, right? But I still
Right.
beat him.
Right.
The antlers have something to do with it.
I think if that number was like 180 to 190, I'd change my opinion probably. But like probably the 5 year old, if it, because I mean, a
Yeah.
140 to 150, a freaking 140-inch deer is a big freaking deer. A lot of people, um,
130 to 160 is a big difference, but
yeah, sure.
135 to 155 isn't really even that much of a big difference.
No,
It's a matter of how you put it on the head that it scores that.
yeah, but a 160-inch deer is a gigantic deer, but so is a 140. I mean, that's a big deer. There's not, a lot of folks shoot uh they're 160s that are actually 140s. I mean, it's a big deer, 140 is.
Mhm.
Um, but I'd probably pick the 5 year old too if I had to choose. Now if like you were in the field and you're trying to make a quick decision, like in a 160 came in, chasing off a 130-inch buck, I'd shoot the 160. I'd probably not um, good enough to, in my mind, like decipher that, oh, that deer's 2 years older, real quick. Um,
I cut out a section of my barn wall one time and blew it up with 3 big bucks, and um, one was a 180-inch 15-pointer, which is my biggest buck. One was a 140 class 8-pointer, and one was somewhere in between, like a 160 or something like that. I think it was a 160 class 11-pointer. And those bucks all next to each other on the same wall, mounted. And I did a poll on if these 3 bucks came walking out and you only have 1 buck tag, which one would you shoot?
mm-hmm.
And I think the majority chose the 8-pointer that was 140
Yeah,
because the frame
yeah,
looked bigger than the 180 class buck. It just looked like a bigger buck on the wall.
yeah,
You know, all
yeah.
that can be perception and deception. I mean, a lot of people don't realize it, but you shoot a 140-inch 10-pointer, it don't look like much. You shoot a 140-inch 8-pointer, it's gigantic.
Yeah.
And I seen a 136-inch 6-point once. It was
Mm-hmm.
unreal. Shoot that
Yeah.
before you shoot a boom.
Oh, I was up in Canada. I can't remember where I was. Maybe Ontario. Anyways, I was up there for work, and there was a Cabela's across the road from my hotel, and I'd go in there at night to kill time. And they had a 155-inch 6-pointer mounted in there. I mean, it was like I got a picture of it somewhere. I took a picture of it, but it was the biggest 6-pointer I've ever seen. 155 inches. I mean, it had a frame to be I mean, it looked like one of those,
Mm-hmm.
A buck that could be a world record is the frame it looked on it, but it only had 6 point, only had 3 on each side, a broad tine and G2s, and that's it in the main beam. But crazy. All right, Gimmer 22 asks. It seems like in most of your out of state hunts, you guys decide to scout in the mornings and midday and hunt in the evenings. When or what situation will you hunt in the mornings?
When I got a good setup, I don't like hunting spots that I've walked before and the deer smelt that I was in there. If I know of a situation, if it's been pre-scouted, if I've been there before, I like hunting there in the morning. I do think that if you hunt a spot in the evening, you don't see nothing, and you thought it was a good spot, and you scouted it that day and found it in the evening, sometimes the morning can still be good because the deer that you're after hasn't been in there yet. There's a good chance that he comes in the next day, and then you're sitting there. So sometimes sitting there the morning after you're there in the evening, but I'm not going into something blind based on a map that I've never been before in the morning. And I do have to have some sort of scouting time. So there's a direct correlation with the amount of success I have and the amount of time I spend scouting. So there has to be some sort of scouting in the equation, and of course there has to be hunting in the equation too in order to put something on the wall. So I have to give something up, and a lot of times if I hunt morning and evening on a hunt, I run out of scouting time because you grab something to eat or you go back to your truck and it's almost time to go back out. You know, unless you do a real quick morning hunt and then scout after you're done hunting, which is a little more feasible for me. Like the first hour of light or something, and then jump down and start hitting it. How about you?
Yeah. So I don't typically hunt if I'm outside of the rut. Like if I'm going on a place where I consider it the rut hunt, that's when I'll hunt mornings, and I'll go in blind places. Like if I let's say it's the first morning,
Mhm.
like I get there the evening, a night, and going in the first morning, I'll go in blind, and I'll actually sit until depending on deer movement, 9 or 10 o'clock. Then I'll get down. If I don't like where I'm at, then I'll get down and kind of start the cycle of scouting. Um, but in the rut, I feel like you probably need to. I think you need to be in a tree in the morning at least for a couple hours.
Mhm.
Um, and then if you're in a good spot, like I mean, there's in the during the rut. I mean, you could you kill one midday if you're in the right spot. Depending on what you're after. But that's a scenario I'd hunt. I'd hunt every morning. Is like when I was in Ohio, I hunted every morning. And then if I didn't like where I was at, I got down 9 or 10 o'clock and scouted around until I found something different.
Yeah, I could do that, but I have to have a spot. I think going in
Mm-hmm.
there blind, I get too many spots where you can't really find a tree that's got the cover or something in the dark. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you put a gray light, then I do a little better at it. But it just seems
Mm-hmm.
like I
Yeah.
just want to find something and get onto something, you know.
Yep. Yep. No, I get that for sure. I don't think any of my um, I opening day of Wisconsin's bow season this year, I set in the morning, but it was just because we were going to shoot a doe if we saw one.
Mhm.
Um, when I was hunting up by Gary
Yeah, rut's the
and
only time
Brad.
I care about hunting mornings.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, and he's specifically talking about out of state stuff, so I'm assuming he's talking about places that you don't not real familiar with. But you've had some luck killing deer in the mornings, haven't you? Early,
Yeah.
and you
Uh,
kill some.
a few, not many. Most of my deer were killed in the evenings.
Yeah.
I killed a really big 8 pointer, a giant 8 pointer, in the middle of a thunderstorm in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Over scrape, right?
That one, no.
Oh.
That one was I figured out where he was bedding and got him coming back to bedding a little further back from the bedding before he
Mm-hmm.
went. There was a it was an oxbow situation, and I hunted the outside of an oxbow, and he was on the inside of an oxbow, and so he came through this outside around to go back to the inside where he was going to bed, and there's a little funnel, and I shot him there.
Mm, that's
So that was
awesome.
an early season morning hunt. I did kill you when I was younger. I killed a few deer early season in the mornings, but it became pretty evident that I was doing more damage to the areas I hunted than I was doing good. However, when I was young, I was so gung ho and I had enough area to hunt that as long as I didn't go burn up my good evening spots, I could hunt every morning and every evening, and I did. Probably when I was in my 20s, I would hunt every
Yeah.
single day, every morning, every evening, even if it cost me jobs. But
Right.
but I always did better in the evenings
Yeah.
until rut. Rut, I would always see good action in the mornings.
Right. All right, everybody. I'm gonna some of the questions we've kind of went over in the past, so I probably won't touch on them. So if you don't get your question answered, you may just do a little YouTube search and you'll be able to find it. We've talked about some of the stuff you guys are asking about. All right. Um, MD Bow Hunter 2008. Any suggestions on how to hunt public land that's loaded with mountain laurel with slight hills, 3,000 acres to hunt? There are some pines scattered throughout the pockets.
Well, assuming your hunting season's over now, I'd get out there and I'd find exactly where they live in that laurel. So I'd probably look for small little knobs and points that come off of the hill. I'd look for little thick areas within that hill, within that laurel that's a little thicker than the rest. And by thick, I know everything's thick before you even say it. Where it's shaded, where they got some shade, where they can get out of the wind, a little pocket, um, little bowls that go into there, where the winds will swirl when they hit the pockets. I'd look for areas like that. And I would probably walk that top third elevation of those hills right now quite a bit and learn those bedding areas. That might look immense and like you don't know where to go during hunting season. I'd probably be in the same dilemma out there trying to struggle and try to figure out some point and hunt it. But if you scout that in the spring and you learn it, and you learn where they live and they bed by looking at the beds now from last fall, you can hunt that pretty effectively.
There you go. All right. Kenny Troyer asks, Dan, will you be scouting some new public land spots this year in your home state? And have you considered hunting some hill country in your home state this next season?
Yes and yes. I always plan on hunting some hill country. I always do a little bit, unless I tag out in western Wisconsin. Western Wisconsin is a lot better than the area I hunt by my house. I think by my house we have bigger bucks, but they're harder to hunt and harder to get on. Where western Wisconsin, you can read them in those hills real easy, and there's a lot more older class bucks to hunt. So western Wisconsin's a good destination for me. It's only 1 to 2 hours away.
Yeah.
The spots I hunt by my house are an hour away, so not a big deal. I'm always scouting new spots. I'm always I don't want to really scout old spots. I don't want to go look at the stuff I've already scouted. So I'm always looking for new stuff and new areas and new bucks. I get leads on deer and stuff. I go chase them down. Yeah, I'm always looking at new stuff. Matter of fact, I never get to all the stuff I've scouted. I found some really good spots last spring I never went to.
Yeah. All right. Mark Abney asks, when do you guys get out after sheds, Indiana and Wisconsin? Dan, are you shed hunter?
Not much of one. I find them when I'm scouting.
Yeah. I pick up a bunch of them. I mean, in Indiana, it's March is the best time to go find a bunch of sheds, but I'll start now until March. I mean, and it's usually in conjunction with scouting. But yeah, I mean, I got all kinds of sheds. That's a quarter of what I have up there probably. We got advantages here though because we don't get snow like you guys do. So, I mean, you guys can have snow until April, right? Covering everything up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys finding sheds right now. There's people all looking.
Yeah.
I think February is the big month around here. Around mid-February, they just start dropping like crazy. And there'll be people going up and down the trails over and over again. It's getting to be quite the pastime. We get a lot of trespassers during shed season.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. And on the subject of trespassers, I was over at Dave's farm, and that guy was walking all over the place again after getting a trespassing warning.
Really?
Yeah. Just snow. I mean, he walks from his house in the snow back out onto the farm again. I'm like, what an idiot.
Gosh. Did it do anything to it? I mean, did they just...
I didn't do nothing. I just I followed his tracks up to his door so he'd see I walked up him.
Yeah.
Let it be. He didn't go way in the back. He just went to where I put the trespassing signs up, but he was onto the property by about 100 yards.
Okay, a couple people were asking about if there's going to be a smaller version of the Beast Stand in the near future.
I got something in the works. You're just going to have to be patient. I can't talk too much about it, or the same people that copied me last time will copy me again.
Yeah. I saw some other copies this season that came out again.
Yeah, everybody's copying us. Good thing is they're doing a bad job. They need to get some good engineers.
Backwoods Inc. says, "Hey Josh, ask Dan, what is his favorite style of turkey call? Does he use box calls, pot calls, mouth calls? And what style of calls do you use, Josh?" I don't know what you're asking.
Turkey call is it? Come here, turkey. Come here, turkey.
Uh-huh.
Now, I use a box call, mainly because I've never been able to use a mouth call. I can't figure things out. and
Oh, really?
box call just works okay for me, and it's nice and loud. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a run and gunner. I'm not really trying to tweak and like little tiny clucks and stuff. I just make a loud uh, series of what a hen does when she's horny, and if I get responses, I get responses. I don't sit too much. I go out after them. I probably don't have the most effective style of turkey hunting. I just like it that way. I like chasing them things down. It's the fun part of turkey hunting is the run and gun, go after them kind of thing for me.
Yep.
Usually, if they're in the mood, it doesn't matter. You can drop your box call; they'll come running.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a glass call I really like. That's it's made by golly, I can't remember who makes it now. It's the guys the hunting public uses, but
Mm.
New Haven or something like that. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But it's a glass call. I love that thing, mostly because the only reason I love it, I think, is because I called in a turkey with it and shot it with a longbow, and I just in my mind I'm like, this is it. This is the call, When in reality it may not be, but that's what in my head that's what works. So
Yeah, box calls. I mean, you can get some that are just junk. They
oh
don't even
yeah,
sound right or whatever. You can really get some crappy ones.
yeah,
HS Strut has worked well for me, but even them, I like it when they're out and you can test them. I'd rather buy used ones at a rummage sale or something than buy one from the store that's in a package that I can't test. I like to hear the tone of it.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of those companies, the quality isn't what it used to be either. Like used to
Right.
be back in the day. I do think turkey call is one of those things where you kind of get what you pay for on them. I mean, some of them are expensive, but man, some of those, if you can spend a little bit more money on one, I think you'd be, happier with it for the most part. Um, but I don't know because I've bought some cheaper glass calls and none of them sound as good as that
Hmm.
that. Gosh, I hope that's the right. I can't remember the name of it. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's always on the Hunting Public's channel, but it's like $80 for the call or something like that. It's expensive. Um, I broke one last year too. Somehow it cracked in my vest. Um, all right. In the Woods asked Josh. I know Dan's thoughts already. I'm 57 years old, thinking of hunting public next year, trying to decide between hang on, climber, or possibly a new seat type saddle. Give me your opinion. Um, I mean, my opinion is I use the B stand. That's what I use. I would go ahead and just bite the bullet and get the B stand and sticks. Especially not saying you're old because I think Dan's about the same age as you, but it's like the ease of use for hanging that thing is just unbelievable. I think that's the main difference in getting the B stand versus something else that's twice or three times heavier is it's so easy to hang, and as you get older, I'm sure that stuff doesn't get easier, but hmm. and all that other stuff like um, it also has a lot less of a learning curve in my opinion. The hang-ons, even versus the climber for the most part, it's a lot more versatile. Anyway, would you agree, Dan?
Yeah, pretty much. I was just thinking when you were saying that. I know that on a few occasions you'll take out a saddle. What are the reasons that bring you onto a saddle?
I it'll have to be like I had to use it in a very specific location. Like a lot of times in the like field edges, if you notice, like trees will grow towards the field and they'll have like a severe
Mhm.
lean, and a saddle's really comfortable if you sit on this side uh, of the lean.
Yep.
It just whereas a tree stand is super hard to like when they're leaning that severe. You can't really put a stand on this side because it's leaning too far forward, and on the
I
back
just
side it's hard to
I
get.
put it on just like you do with the saddle.
Yeah,
And I sit on the seat
right,
facing the tree, and then when I
right.
stand, I just stand right there and shoot on one side or the other.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah. And
I can see that situation working better with your saddle.
yep, and then maybe like I don't know if you're someplace where you know the if you can get up in a tree that's like in hill country, if there's a certain way you have to sit where you can hide behind the tree, or you know with on a lock on where you'd be like you can't get in front of the tree, you'd be silhouetted. That'd be a scenario I'd use it. But um, those are really the only two options. I mean, I used the saddle a lot before the B stand came out. And I always just found it a little bit inconvenient in certain trees that I wanted to get in because of the amount of more space you have to have in a tree to shoot out of a saddle and stuff, and to you got more ropes and whatnot. Uh, so you have to have more room to put a saddle in a tree, in my opinion, and to shoot out of it. But like you can't, like for example, those pine trees out there in Illinois we were hunting. There's no way you could get a saddle in one of those trees and shoot out of it effectively, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Whereas a
or
bee stand, you cedar trees. Yeah, you could just kind of wedge it into one of the, between the two limbs or something, and you're golden. You can shoot out of it. Whereas with the saddle, your back would be to the deer, and then you'd have to shoot, like this, which you can do it. It's just a pain. Um, so that's why I like my lock on, or my hang on better. All right. And I get that. I know, because we'll get comments like, I know you can do it. It's just to me it's easier with a hang on stand. Okay, Kylie Peg. I think Kylie Peg is actually his wife's account or something, because I think I know this guy. I think I used to live in the same town he did back in the day. But anyway, he said he texted me the other day, or messaged me on Facebook, said we coon hunted together a couple times when we were younger. So I think I knew his brother pretty well. Okay, anyway, if you jump a mature buck, how long before that buck will use that bed again? I'm always afraid of doing more harm than good right before season scouting. Thank you. Hmm.
So that's a wide open question, because I've seen it where you jump them, you stand there, and 15 minutes later they come sneaking back. And I've
Mm-hmm.
seen it where you jump them and the next morning they come right back. And I've seen it where you jump them and they never, ever, ever, ever come back. So there's a couple of different ways you spook a buck. I mean, there's a soft bump, which is, they heard something, they know something's not right. They're going to get up and move because they're a little spooked, but they don't know what's going on. And there's they seen you, they smelled you, they heard you, they looked you in the eyes, kind of running out of their 90 miles an hour, bowling over trees, blowing spook, and there's everything in between, right? So there's a hard bump and a soft bump. I think you hard bump a buck, he's a lot less likely to come back ever to that
Mm.
same spot. I think if you soft bump a buck, he might be right back. He might not be back that season. It's always a guess. Um, but they do come back enough that it's worth hunting. You know, it sounds like from the question that you're saying that you're scouting right before season, which I probably wouldn't really recommend scouting in bedding areas right before season bumping bucks. I would recommend that type of scouting is you're sneaking around, finding where bucks live and hunting them the next day. Or, I mean, that day, same day you snuck through there. Or you're watching them from a distance scouting, or you're putting cameras on food source and then figuring out where they're at. But I wouldn't exactly go bumping them out of beds during season and then hunt there personally. What's your thoughts on it, Josh?
I can recall a time, it's been 4 or 5 years ago. I was in hunting hill country and I bumped a buck off of a ridge, and I ended up setting up on that ridge and got up in my stand, and I glassed down into the bottom, and he was just standing there in the bottom, just like nothing ever happened. Uh, and he ended up making his way back to me. Just out of range. He was about 40 yards through the woods. Um, so that buck, I put pressure on him and he didn't care. But I'm sure there's been more times than not where, you know, I don't, I bump them and I never see them again, or they go to the next county. So it just, I mean, pretty much exactly what you said. Um, if you're sneaking around, if you're doing preseason scouting, like Dan said, maybe you can do some like less intrusive scouting as what I would do to try not to bump those bucks.
I think a lot of it might be situational on what they've learned or through their lifetime too.
Yeah.
You might have a buck that got bumped, came back, and got an arrow through its back straps, and you might have a buck that he's had people walk through pheasant hunting. He walks in a circle, watches them leave, comes back, and he's watching them leave as he's walking back into bed, and he does that over and over and over again, and he's used to that. So it can be situational, and they're just like people if you think about it. I mean, if you got into a street fight one day and you got beat so bad you ended up in the hospital for 3 weeks. You get out, I don't think you're going to go jump in another street fight too quick. But if you won the street fight, you might be feeling a little cocky and you might go out and get in another one. So I kind of look at it as like, you don't know where that deer is, what's in his mind and what he's thinking. You can only relate it to how he was bumped, kind of, and how he reacts. And each deer is an individual. So like in Josh's case, he saw how that buck reacted. If he ran into that buck again, or if he was still hunting that buck, he could expect it to react kind of similar again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have a story where you bumped like a buck 3 times, didn't you, or something like that? It kept just being there. Every time you'd come back, you'd be like, it probably ain't going to be here. And then you'd be like, gosh dang it, there he was again.
When I finally hunted there, he finally didn't show back up. But I had to walk through this area in order to get to this whole vast area. And because there's a way I had to cross a creek. So I go in there and I jump this buck and I'm like, holy crap, he was bedded right here. So then the next day I come through there and, I thought it was a fluke. Next day I come through there, the same buck jumps out of the same spot. And I'm like, oh, if I would have just sat there. Then I come back through the next day and he jumps up again. And I'm like, now I'm an idiot. So then the fourth day I was sitting there in the morning. He never came back.
Right. All right. Stephen Mueller asks, what kind of cameras do you gents use to self-film hunts? I can show you mine. I got it right here. It's a full frame Sony DSLR. I don't use this lens, but I got a couple other ones too. I got a smaller one for just if I want to be lighter, but that thing's pretty small and light.
I got your old one.
Yeah, Dan has a Sony AX100 that I used to have.
And I got that Canon, and I'm still using the Canon because I haven't figured out your Sony yet. I didn't just haven't had time to really get into it. Right. But the Canon has seen better days. It's a nice camera. It's an expensive camera, but it's been dropped a couple dozen times. There's things rattling around inside of it.
Yeah. If you're just starting, I would not suggest getting something like this. I mean, this is super expensive and a little bit complicated to use, but like a handy cam or a camcorder like Dan has is a good one. I think that the AX, they have a 100 and a 700. They're pretty much the same thing. Just the sensor size is important. Like Dan's camera is a 1-inch sensor, so it collects light well. So you can film up until legal light is up. Some of the cheaper ones you almost lose daylight before you can legally stop hunting. So a lot of times you'll see some videos, like especially old video of like if it looks really dark when we shot a deer, it really wasn't. The cameras just don't perform well in that type of lighting. Wouldn't you agree, Dan?
Yeah.
Now this thing here, this camera you can film up to. That's what's so nice about it. But you got to pay for that kind of stuff. There's like a million options anymore on the market for cameras to film hunts, and I tinker with that stuff more than Dan does, obviously.
Yeah, I got to get more stuff, but I'm just more into the hunt than I am the filming and stuff. But I really need to get some GoPros and stuff. And yeah,
I think a GoPro, like if you guys watch like my videos, like almost all my like vlogs type stuff where I'm scouting is filmed with a GoPro. I think that'd be good for you, Dan, because they're wide angle and they have really good stabilization in them, and they're durable.
That's
Not
not.
saying you, yeah, not saying you need something durable, but
They can take a
uh,
Dunkin' or two. That'd be good. I fry a lot
yeah,
of them in swamps.
yeah, they're waterproof.
Yeah, the Canon was an $1,100 camera new.
Yeah,
The Canon, but I bought it used, so I paid like 600 or 700, something like that.
right.
Uh, um,
Yeah, there's
it has its
cameras you
good
can.
days and bad days. Sometimes it won't focus right, and the thing's been dunked underwater completely. Had to be taken apart and dried out, and then get it working again. And
Yeah.
it's like I got to buy one every year.
Oh, it's hard on camera gear. I had two broken ones here, and I sent them off to some company to fix them because I'm like, they actually quoted me a pretty decent price to get both of them fixed. And I was like, oh, that'd be worth fixing them, just to have an extra one because I don't really have right now. I don't have an extra one, but I will after these come back. Um, all right. What's your funniest hunting story, Dan?
Funniest funny story. Uh, when I was a little kid, my my brother was going to take me gun deer hunting, and I was all gung ho to go. And my dad told me I couldn't go, and we had been planning this. My brother even bought me some orange stuff, and I was really ticked off. My dad was a wise man. My brother was a drunk, and I was too young to really know that.
Yeah.
But my dad was pretty smart, and because I was moping around, he bought me a red fiberglass bow, one of those bear bows. I think a lot of kids had those back in the day, and I actually was able to get a couple of deer hunting arrows. I can't believe it because I was a real little kid that the guy sold them to me at the store, but he did. He had a bucket full of wooden arrows with broadheads on them, and I bought one of them arrows, and I went out to go deer hunting, and was out stalking deer with my dog Buford. That was my favorite dog, Buford, and I was out in the back behind a yard through some fields, and I come into this heavy grassy area, and there's like these trails going through, and I was pushing through this trail, and I come into this little open spot, and I look up, and there's this buck standing there looking at me, and he had broken off antlers on the top of his head, and he's probably about 5 paces from me, just standing there staring at me. And as a little kid, and I mean, I was really little, staring at this deer face to face, I stopped thinking about being a hunter, and I can't decide whether I'm supposed to shoot this thing or make it a pet because it's just standing there.
Right.
I'm just kind of sitting there contemplating like what's going on in shock, and it's probably a fraction of a second, but it seems like forever, right? And all of a sudden, that thing just lowers its head and just charged forward and rammed right into me, caught me in the guts, and I went flying through the air, landed on the ground, and got up, and I started crying, and the antlers ripped my jacket open, and I started walking home and crying, and my dad and mom came running out to get me because uh, a neighbor across the creek from us was watching out on our porch, saw me out there with the bow, was wondering what I was doing, was watching me, saw the whole thing happen. And she thought some big dog attacked me. She couldn't tell it was a deer from that distance. She said, then the dog ran away or something. But my dad um, frequented a tavern in Lannon, and he went down to the tavern that night, and he may have had a few too many, and he was
Mm-hmm.
telling a story. One of the guys in the tavern was a writer for the local newspaper, and he wrote the article, and the article was all full of stuff that wasn't true. He said there was footprints on my jacket. Well, that was where the antlers tore the jacket and stuff, and he had my
Yeah.
age wrong, and but it was
That's crazy. And you've had a vengeance on deer ever since.
oh yeah, I went on a killing spree after that.
I got a funny story about when I was a kid. I It's embarrassing. I don't care. I was like probably 10 or 11 years old. Uh, Me and my dad and my grandpa were hunting. My grandpa had this little bitty Nissan pickup. It was like one of those extended cabs, but you had to sit sideways in the back. You remember those trucks, right?
Yep.
Um, and They always set me in this particular spot that was kind of close to the truck. And my dad and my grandpa were off somewhere, wherever they would go. And it was gun season, and we were out there in the morning, and I got sitting up there, and I got my climber, and I don't know, I sat up there for an hour, and dude, I had to take a dump so bad. And this is like when you're a little kid, you're just stupid. You're like, what the heck could I do? And I climbed down, I got down, and I had coveralls on. I took them down, and I freaking took a dump right in the back of my coveralls, like all over them. I wasn't conscious enough to move them out of the way. Anyway, so then I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So I just took them all the way off, and I had long underwear on, and I went and um, you know, put them in the truck, and I just sat in the truck and waited for my waited for my grandpa and my dad to get back. And I think it was my dad. It was either my dad or my uncle. But anyway, I uh, they got back to the truck like a long time later, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing back to the truck?" I'm like, "Oh, I just got down a little early and came back." And he's like, "Oh, why do you got your cover? Where's your coveralls at?" And I was like, "Oh, I just got hot or whatever." I made up some story. And then we got driving down the road, and my grandpa, he was like, "Man, it smells in here." And I and I like started crying. I'm like, "I pooped in my pants. I pooped in my." And they just thought it was hilarious. They weren't mad. I thought they were going to be mad at me for pooping all in my bibs, but I don't know. I've got a bunch of stories about coyote hunting with dogs. I had a gun pulled on me once doing that, and that's not real funny. But there's better stories with that stuff. Like you said, Dan, dog hunting gets a little bit western sometimes. You seem to get into more crap doing that kind of stuff um, than deer hunting for sure. Okay, how much scouting time do you think you put in a season? Have you ever kept track of that, Dan?
No, it's a lot, and
Yeah.
it would be pretty hard to track. You'd almost have to have a graph of different kinds of scouting. Um, Scouting can be done on my way to work, how I
Mm-hmm.
drive my car to work. It can be done by looking at some maps while I'm at work. It can be done on foot. It can be done from a car window. It can be done while you're hunting. Scouting is kind of a relative term. Anytime you're trying to figure something out for deer, you're scouting, right? As far as
Yeah.
on foot scouting, which he may be referring to just that,
Yeah.
um, which is just a fraction of my scouting. Uh, in the off season, not enough, but probably way more than anybody else. I don't know. Probably between January, February, and March, I'll probably scout uh, 4 days a week, probably 4 hours 3 days and 10 hours one day. And and then during the summer, I'll scout from a truck, glassing. I'll even walk some stuff during the summer that you can either walk it then or not walk it. So I'll walk it during the summer. And yeah, I scout all the time. So on a weekly basis, I'm scouting every week, probably. In the off season, probably 10, 12 hours every week all year. And during season, I'm scouting on most of my hunts a little bit at least, but I scout less.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
4 or 5 hours a week.
I've been trying to keep track of my miles this year just to see how many I walk. Um, Not that equates to anything. It's just something to keep track of, I guess. But I'm sure I'm horrible at keeping track of stuff like that, so I'll probably forget one time and then end up not keeping track of it. But I'm kind of like you. I go out at least maybe four days a week, and it may be just for a couple hours or it may be all day. I mean, Anytime I can get out there and scout, I'm doing it right now,
I can
especially right now.
tell you, for me, you can see a distinct improvement in my hunting in the fall if I've scouted well in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting onto animals in those new spots I find.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important. It's important
Yeah.
to find lots of good, unique spots that are holding animals and make good, accurate guesses onto what time frame you need to be there, and have
Yep.
good setups pre-planned. There's nothing beats having been to a spot, figured it out, and then left it alone and never went back, and go in there for that first hunt and hit it right. There's nothing beats that. I mean, that's been what's killed a lot of my biggest bucks.
Yep.
So that scouting time is real crucial.
Yeah. You really got to. I mean, I think of deer hunting as like, you know, it's a it's a test that's coming this fall, and you got to prepare for that test. And the more you prepare for it, and the better your knowledge base is about your areas you're hunting, the better you're going to do during your test of deer season. Um, the better you're going to be at overcoming obstacles during deer season too. So okay, someone I can't find the question, but I saw it. We'll answer a few more here. Someone asked us our opinion on antler point restrictions.
Uh, it's got its good and its bad.
Yeah.
So for me, they it depends on where you're at and how they're set up. But a lot of places they have like a 4-point rule, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those places that have 4-point rules end up with a lot of 6-pointers. 4 points on one side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't like it if it stops you from being able to shoot some massive 6-pointer, or something like that. But chances are that's a pretty rare occurrence, anyways.
Yeah.
For the most part, if it lets some deer mature, it's a good thing, in my opinion. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say it's probably better than not having one. So I think it helps. I think limiting how many deer somebody shoots is better.
Yeah.
Like instead of having an APR and antlers, I think telling a guy you can shoot one buck is probably better. And the reason for that is people always settle and shoot one small one, and then they hold out for a big one, or
Yeah.
um, and then they start shooting for a friend or something. Because when you get 2 tags, you buy your wife a tag or your neighbor a tag or something. You can shoot 2 more bucks, and then that kind of encourages poaching. But when it's 1 buck, nobody really wants to give their buck tag to somebody else, and I
Right.
think you hold out for something a little better. You shoot a doe for meat or something. So I think the 1 buck rule is better. Um, that's what I personally think. I also think that I really, my greed to shoot a big buck, I don't think is worth taking some little old man who shoots a buck for meat and is proud of that every year, and telling him he can't
Right.
shoot that buck. He has to wait for a big one, or telling some kid he can't shoot the first buck that walks by. He has to wait for a certain animal. I think I'd rather just see 1 buck. The
Yeah.
kid would be happy, the old man would be happy, and I'd be happy.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with it. I don't, not a big fan of anybody telling you what you can shoot. Um, I mean, it's fine. Like you said, if you restrict the amount of deer you can shoot, that's just management.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know.
You got to
I
look
don't
at it
know how I feel about it.
like too. I mean, look at what they do over here with the doe hunt. We get a ton of small bucks that get accidentally shot during a doe hunt, and they're just left to
Mm-hmm.
die, left to rot out there. Because if they turn themselves in, they're gonna get a big ticket. They're gonna get in trouble.
Right.
So they just end up leaving the deer out there every year after that doe season. I find dead bucks laying around. So I mean, you're gonna get guys that make mistakes, and then what happens? I mean, I'd be more of a fan of if you made a mistake, it was a $50 fine, and not when it goes permanently on your record. It's like,
Right.
okay, my bad. Here's my $50. It's kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
swear jar, right?
Yeah.
Rather than the way they do things, because I don't know. I just
Yeah. I don't.
I do you know what I do kind of like about an antler restriction is that to you have to know what you're shooting at.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like the safety factor of a guy like in my home state now has a tag for anything. Anything that moves, you
Mm-hmm.
can shoot.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of makes you a little like, well, I think that's a
Yeah.
deer. If you have to know if it has antlers and how many points it has, I think that's a little safer.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's got its. I don't want to say it's bad, and I don't want to say it's good. I just think um, I'm not a huge fan, but I'm not really against it either.
Right. Yeah. That's how I mean, uh, I've hunted numerous places now that have antler point restrictions. I don't ever like it really bothers me, as long as you know
Doesn't
about it.
change when I'm shooting, most likely.
Right.
I mean, the
Right.
only thing is that I would probably shoot. If I saw a 5-year-old spike with 12-inch spikes, I'd probably shoot it, or
Right.
shoot
Something
a six
crazy.
pointer or something. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
But
cool.
like you said, that's the odds of that happening are not very good.
I can think of a few times in my life that when I ran into things like that.
Yeah.
I can remember a giant 4-pointer I saw, fork,
Yeah.
probably an ancient old buck, like 20 inches wide,
Mm.
with like 5-inch like Coke can bases,
Yeah.
but he just had a big fork on both sides, no brow tines or anything.
Mm.
And I'd love to have that thing on my wall.
Yeah. All right. Josh Banks asks, Josh, what is your most useful tip of knowledge you have got since you started hunting with Dan? Dan probably taught me the most, like when I hunted with him, is like to slow down and think about things a little more. um, Dan's really like, if you ever hunt with Dan, he's very good at like finding sign and then like putting the puzzle pieces together real quick of where it's coming from and where they're bedding at. And um, that's what I learned most from hunting with you, Dan, is just like how much you think about things
Mm.
before you make your next move. That's what I mean. That helped me a lot. It helped me
Does
a
that,
lot in Ohio.
does that ever drive you nuts too? A little
Uh,
analyzation.
Sometimes, yeah, it kind of does. Sometimes, like, I could probably give you specific examples, because I'm not saying you're wrong. It was just not, and not, it's not how I would have done it. Like in Michigan when we were scouting like tracks uh, on the road and stuff. I was like, man, I want to go somewhere deep, or something different. So, uh, but I also learned a lot. Like watching you like backtrack things. I mean, I still learned stuff. Uh, but yeah, no, it's not a bad thing. All right, let's see. How long have we been on here? Almost an hour and a half. Let's get to a couple more. Everybody that's given me like a sticker and those little donations, I appreciate it, guys. That really helps a lot. It's nice to see that on the algorithm. A couple of guys were asking about if there's going to be a hill country workshop. Dan, I saw that question a few
There may
times.
be. I gotta call Eric Husman and see if we can arrange one. He knows I'm going to be calling him. I just haven't done it. I've just been so busy. I
I
kind of
know
want to
it's
wrap this stuff up first, and I want to get some stuff together for you for the seminars, because it's driving me nuts that those are coming up quick too.
oh man, yeah. We're just so it's like it's almost like where are we going to fit that in? That's kind of where I was at with it. I was like, man, we got a lot going on the next couple months.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. Oh, did you ever? Another question that's gotten asked a couple times. Did you ever do anything with your trail cam study, Dan? I know you had some issues there for a while with cameras
Yeah,
and
I got,
stuff.
I got one video I got to get back to and get done. That had a lot of really good information in it. But it's kind of like 3/4 done, and I got to get to it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I'd like to do some stuff. I haven't done it yet. I've saved the cards. There was one spot that was really interesting that I'd like to do a video on. Just got to get to it.
yep. Mr. D asks, Dan, do you keep notes or just retain all the scouting intel in your head?
I used to keep detailed notes, and I did a lot better when I did, because you'd be surprised when you go through your notes the stuff that you've forgotten since you looked at a spot, or or the precise dates when you saw stuff there, or you know what I mean? Because those dates revolve back to the same time frames and years and future years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the notes really help, but no, I don't do it now. I just got so much stuff going on, and I don't keep up with it. But a journal is a really good thing to have.
Yeah.
When I did do it, it helped me immensely. It also helped me keep track of spots because you'd forget about places, and then you go hunt someplace, and over and over again, and you'd be like, I didn't get nothing else, and you think, oh my gosh, I never hunted that one spot where this was going on. When you get so many things going on, you kind of forget about things. So a journal can kind of keep you more organized, um, keep you straight on dates, keep you straight on info, on exact wins you need, everything you need. Journals can be a huge advantage.
Yeah. Whenever you used to take a or use a journal, did you write down like as you were scouting, or did you do it like when you go back to the truck or home, or how did you usually log
I
things?
usually do it when I get home.
Okay.
Not to mention, I did try a couple times doing journals in the field, and what would happen is you'd write something down, and a little while later you realize you're wrong, or you want to alter that or something, and you scribbling something out and redoing it. When you get home, you get all your facts together. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The only good thing about doing it in the field is I would do it in a way where I'm asking questions, so you wouldn't get back to the home and you'd say, "Oh, I can't fill that in. I don't remember." But you'd
Yeah.
be looking at how the wind goes. What do you need for winds? What do how high is the stand going to be? How many sticks or whatever? Blah blah blah. I always take the same number of sticks, anyways. But it's a good
Yeah.
thing. Sometimes you don't want to hunt too high and stuff. You want to have a note in there that if you get to a certain height, your deer's going to see you or something. Or um, and that might sound like stuff that you remember pretty easily. But you got to remember, I'm looking at hundreds of spots.
Yeah. Yeah. You think you remember it, then you won't.
And then there's
Something else.
spots where I'll go in and I'll scout that with every intention of hunting her, and I don't hunt her again for 5 years. I come
Mm-hmm.
back when I'm going to hunt that area. I look through my notes and say, okay, here, here, here. And the reason I'm back is because now all of a sudden a big buck showed up there. I heard about one. I saw one shining. I threw a camera up one day and saw some, or I went back there and there's some huge rubs. Because when I start out a season, if I'm not on a lot of deer, I'll go through an area. I'll go hunt a spot just randomly. Oh, here's a good spot that I was at a few years back. I'll go back there and I'll hunt it. And I'll scout my way back in, and I'll check the forest out. And if I don't see much sign, I ain't coming back. And I'll keep hopping around until I start hitting spots that got sign, and then I'll start hunting that spot down a little more. You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of randomly searching for bucks, and as I find those bucks, I start narrowing my searches down.
Yeah.
So then you might find one in a spot where you haven't been in years, and those notes you'll forget things in a few years or a couple of years or even a year.
Right. Right. Um. Yeah. Some people are saying like all your mapping softwares have like a note section now, and that's a good thing too. Just when you
Mm-hmm.
drop a pin, take your notes in the note section, and then when you get to that property, you can, you know, open them notes up. Uh, anyways, let's see here. Someone was asking if we ever shoot turkey in the fall while we're deer hunting. I never have shot one in the fall.
I always got a permit in my pocket, and if one comes by, I'll shoot it if it ain't gonna cost me a buck. But generally, that don't work out so well because they got such good eyesight.
Oh man.
Um, I've shot two during the fall, and I haven't got either one. I mean, when you hit them with an arrow, if you don't break that wing butt, man, they fly away with your arrow, and you killed them. I shot one at Dave's farm, and I shot right through that thing, and the arrow stopped on the ground because it was frozen,
Yeah.
and it flew through the trees with that arrow sticking out of both sides of it, hitting the sides of the trees, went way up into the air, way over the swamp that's private on somebody else's land, and fell out of the sky and landed in the marsh. Never found it.
Oh, that's funny. My turkey I shot with my longbow. It did the same thing. I shot it and it took off flying. I'm like, ah, crap. And I'm not kidding you, Dan. It was like a gore scene. Like when he was flapping his wings, there was just blood, and I like blood trailed the thing. I don't know what I hit, but I hit something important, and he just like was flying. He just was like, oh, and he folded it up and then landed on the ground. It had been cool to have on video, but I didn't. But That's the only one I've ever shot with a bow. Okay, Mike, thanks for the donation here. I'm going to read your question, see if I can. Uh, Personal ground scent and rub, scrapes, tracks, etc. during hunts. You guys don't seem to worry about getting right in there and leaving behind odor.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't hunt the same spot too many times.
Yeah,
Once you walk there, I feel like if you walk by a rub or you walk by a scrape, your scent's there. They know you're there. I don't think if you touch it or anything, it's going to make a difference. They still
yeah,
know you're there. They know you're there just as much as if you didn't touch it.
right,
And um, it's not like I walk over and fondle rubs while I'm hunting or go out of my way to do that. You're usually seeing that footage when I'm scouting or I'm looking at something or I'm looking my way in where I walk right by it. But I'm going to hunt that spot the night that I find it. And if that buck comes in, he's going to die before he smells that rub.
right, right. Yeah, we do get a lot of comments on that about like us touching rubs and
Well, I think most people hunt the same spots over and over again. I don't do that.
yeah,
I kill big bucks doing that, so I don't do it. I mean, you can kill deer doing that, but I don't. My biggest bucks always come from the first sits. They come from the first sit of the year, or the first sit ever, or a new spot, or an aggressive move because I saw them someplace. They rarely come from a spot that you rotate through. So if you go in there and you hunt it, it's done. In my
right,
opinion, most
right,
of the time. So you got to at
right.
least adjust from that because he knows you were there. So whether he knows you were 2 feet from the rub or he knows you were at the rub hit makes no difference in my eyes. And it's made no
Yeah,
difference in my success, that's for sure.
right. Josh, Dan, you think your friend Gary can find sheds better? Gary's in a constant competition with me with everything essentially, but he's always trying to find more sheds than me, and he never does. So no,
What's
Gary.
your answer? Josh
Not
finds more.
even, not even close though. That's what I'm like. Don't even compete with me, Gary. You're at such a disadvantage.
I went uh, out scouting with a guy named John Gillis once. He used to make me shirts.
Yeah,
And we went to this property that was full of these big bucks. And we're going to keep our eye out for sheds while we're scouting. And we're walking around. Pretty soon I find one. A little while later, I find another one. He's not finding anything. He's looking around. And at one point, we're walking on this trail, and I got this whole armful of sheds. You know, like, we were a lot younger, right? And I look down and I see this massive shed, and he's about to step on it. And he looks down at it and walks around it. And I just like, what the heck? So I go, hey, you missed one. And he goes, I thought it was a stick. And it was a massive, it's still one of the biggest ones I ever found. And
yeah.
then we get back to the truck, and I'm putting all the sheds in there. And he goes, I can't believe the eyes you have to find sheds. And I'm like, they're glowing white in a brown woods. I mean, but he goes, I can't believe you could see him like that. I just couldn't see him or anything. And he's talking to me, and he's long winded, and he keeps talking. I kind of looked down. I couldn't believe it. He was standing on a shed.
No
It was
way.
like, it was an old one, like 2 or 3 years old. And it was all chewed up and brown.
Yeah,
You know when they get like that cracking in them?
yeah.
And I just looked at him. I said, I hate to do this to you, John, but you're standing on a shed. Could I pick that up, please? Some people got knives,
That's funny.
you know.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah.
usually
I got
pick up the little ones. If they're big, I pick them up.
yeah. Um, yeah. I've done. I guess you start finding them and you find more and you find more and all of a sudden you're get good at finding them just like anything else.
Yeah, you got
Um,
a knack for it. Every time we go someplace, we would walk and you'd be like, deadhead. You'd be like, what are you talking
yeah,
about? 200 yards up there on that second ridge.
yeah. I find them in the dark walking out and stuff. I don't know why. I do. I just look for them too. You know, a lot of people don't look for them. All right. I don't think this guy has a question, but thanks, man. Potato. Last podcast, you guys talking about hunting less than desirable public. Come on over to East MD. I'll fly yous. There you go, Dan. We got a free plane ticket. Me and Dan looked up prices to get to Finland to hunt whitetails. That was a sticker shock to us.
Yeah.
It's like $2,000 to fly over there.
Doesn't Maryland also have those cicada deer, or am I thinking the wrong state?
Oh, geez, man. We got
Little
last
tiny
time
deer.
we talked. Yeah, last time we talked about
Oh,
this, we got kind of crucified because we said the wrong state.
yeah.
Um, I think it's Maryland, but I should
I
know
don't know. It'd
that.
be
But
fun to go out east sometime. I've never been out there.
I want to also sometime. Um, I spent a lot of time out there, but never have deer hunted. All right, let's one more thing I want to talk about, and then I'll announce the winner of the um, workshop. But you put out a post on Facebook today about like what you want to improve next year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything in particular you were thinking in your head that you were wanting to improve on?
Probably less wounding, more killing.
I don't mean to laugh about that, but I get it.
Yeah, well, you gotta accept when you have a problem and fix it. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
What
That's
do you?
to some degree, I want to say that it's just bad things that happen, but on the other hand, bad things happen for a reason. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I do have a little bit of an issue when it's a real big buck and you want to get an arrow in it and you try to do it fast. You want to kill him before he leaves.
Yeah.
If it was a
Rush it
doe
a
or
little bit.
something, I almost always kill the does because when they walk in,
Mhm.
you're like, oh, it runs away, it runs away. Who cares? So you wait till
Yeah.
you get that shot, and you always seem to get that shot. And then when it's a buck, you think he's going to run at any second. You know, that first buck, he was looking up at me, staring at me, and I just felt like he was going to blow out of there any second. I think, in retrospect, if I'd have just been patient, maybe he took a bound and stopped and looked back. Then he gives me a quarter and away shot, or he just steps back and takes a turn. Or I think patience would have did me a little better. And if I didn't kill him that time, I'd kill him a different time. Instead, I
Yeah.
killed him that time and I didn't recover him, which is sad
Right.
all the way around. So
Right.
I'd just rather just have not taken that shot. So that's what I got to realize is that just not do it. I really believe that I could just punch that arrow right through to the heart, but
Yeah.
it just didn't work that way.
What are you thinking about changing or doing to help?
Nah, mostly just the mindset, being a little more patient, trying to.
Yeah.
But I probably need to practice a little more. Um, get really good at different ranges and stuff. Not that that would help me with that particular buck,
Right.
um, but I think it's an area I could use some improvement on. I kind of everybody's got their things they're good at. Like everybody's got things they excel at and things that they're not as good at. And
Yeah.
for me, the bow tinkering and stuff is not what I'm as good at. You're a lot better at that. For me, it's the scouting, the detective work is where I excel. So I can find them really well. But I got to get better at the killing part.
Hmm.
You only
Yeah.
get so many opportunities when you put yourself in tough situations. And I tend to. I mean, I tend to hunt pretty hard scenarios. So if you're only going to get so many um, chances, you have to be able to capitalize on those chances when they happen. Not to
Yeah.
mention that it's not right to do that to deer. I mean, I kind of respect them and I want to kill them cleanly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like I was thinking about this the other day. Is like it's almost like every time you kill one, you're almost in disbelief sometimes that it happened. It's like a miracle to even get in front of one of these bucks, and then to get an arrow in them, it's even harder. So everything just has to be, you know,
Yeah,
perfect.
I was kind of alluding to that earlier in the show that like hunting that buck now, it just seems like it's so impossible to kill it.
Yeah.
What keeps going through my head is how many times I've been in that situation and it happens because you're in that awe. You're like, how did this just happen? It just happened just like I envisioned it, like it was supposed to, and it happened. It's really because you're smarter than you give yourself credit about figuring out where they're at. There's not really, I mean, the woods is only so big. There's only so many places it can be. And if you're
Yeah.
looking at the best spot you found, it's probably the spot where he lives, right? So you're
Right.
actually, the thing is, where me and you have a bigger advantage than the people that we've taught how to hunt like us, as we've been in that scenario many times.
Yeah.
And your back's against the wall and you end up killing one and you're like, okay, it worked, And when you know that, it's a lot easier to get up after going out 100 hunts 100 plus hunts this year unsuccessfully. It's a lot easier for me to get out of bed and go crawl through that swamp a mile, knowing that I've done that in the past and it's worked.
Yeah. Yeah. I think next year I'm going to really focus on trying to shoot a giant in Indiana at least. I think that's a big thing I'm going to focus on. I've always been happy with shooting, the first nice deer that I see, and I think next year I want to focus in on a couple of specific bucks I have on camera that would be kind of like, could be
I think
potentially like.
sometimes I focus too much on those giants
Oh,
because
really?
then I end up a whole season going after them and don't get nothing, and where I could have really
Yeah.
shot.
Well, I mean, I can.
I went to another state, shot a nice deer or something, but I focus too much on the giants, and then I spend a lot of time traveling too, and that takes away
Yeah.
from my giant time. And
Yeah. I know that's another thing is it's kind of like this year I shot that, nice buck in Indiana real early. And it was nice to have freedom to feel like I had freedom to go and like not have to worry about like what's going on in Indiana while I'm in Ohio or Illinois or whatever, but, yeah, I think I want to try to kill a big one.
like last
Not
year
shoot.
to this year for me, I mean, I shot that
Yeah.
giant 5 days into the season last year, and then I was sitting there like, now what?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, let's go hunting. Everybody's like, nah, I'm good. No, let's go. Because I want to
Right.
go out to state because I got nothing going on, and
Right.
but this year, just total opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, someone asked about what the biggest deer I've ever killed is, and it's close to 160 inches. It's over there, and that's a really big deer, But I've just killed so many deer now that are in that 120 to 130 range, or one whatever 135, and it's like, I don't know. I don't really have to shoot another one of those here in Indiana. I can, or at least give myself a college try of killing a Boone and Crockett deer or whatever the case may be. So now, I say that right now, and there may be a 140-inch deer that walks in front of me, on October 9th next year, and I might shoot it, but it sounds good right now. All right, one more thing. Mike, thank you, man, for the donation. I don't think he had a question. He just is telling us he appreciates the info we put out and he enjoys the videos. Thanks, Mike. Awesome. Guys, sorry about not getting to everybody's question. There was a bunch of them and a lot of comments. I think it was a good conversation tonight.
I think this would be pretty popular, letting the community drive the show.
Yeah. It's a lot easier for me and Dan, too. We don't have to think about what we're going to talk about. So, anyways. Do what?
We can talk about a whole bunch of things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this was a good idea, though. This was fun. All right. So, archery addict won the workshop for that first week that Dan's going to do it, the 5th. So I'll message you on, I'll reply to the comment and give you my email, archery addict, and then just email me back. Do it pretty quick. If you don't get back to me within the next couple of days, I'll give someone else the opportunity because it's coming up here quick. So everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.